Good evening. It's Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks College Sports Huddle, and the NCAA tournament is underway with the first four games being played in 2 days, 2 last night, 2 tonight, and then we get into the real deal tomorrow. I'm going to try to find this game that's on right now. If you give me 1 second. Lots to talk about, though. We're going to go through the brackets. I'm going to find a QR code where you guys can just scan it and get in the tournament if you haven't got in already. Good evening, AC. Good to have you with us. Welcome to all the people watching on the McGrath Podcast Network, as well as everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all the groups that allow us to share. You see many of them at the bottom of the screen. John Gonzalez from the Sports Authorities, Greg Rawlings from America's Pastime, Flo and Can from Bottom Line Sports, Let's Talk Sports, Ken Krause over at Golf Bud Sports of All Sorts, and of course, Ralph Williams, quick shout out to him at RW Media, does some great stuff specifically to Sports Corner with Smokin' Jim Frazier every Tuesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Hopefully everybody's been getting in the tournaments or the brackets. Here's the men's one I'll put up again here real quick. And I'm also trying to put in a QR code here. Question is, am I going to be able to copy this? Will it work? We're going to try. I want somebody, maybe AC, you can be my guinea pig here. Maybe I can't do it. Maybe I can't do it. What if I do it from here? Copy image. See if we can paste it. Doesn't look like it's going to paste. Oh, well. Well, anyway, we got the link. Hopefully everybody on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter can get that link. Get in, guys. I'll put in the women's bracket here in a little bit as well. Actually, let me do that right now while we're talking about it. Actually, I'm not going to put that in. Oh, anybody wants it, they can tell me they want it, I guess. What do you got here, EC? I just had the spread, the awareness to the Iranian women's soccer team. Some crazy stuff has been going on with them in Australia the past couple of weeks, and everyone should look it up. Okay. Not going to dive too much into that. Nah, I can't. I was going to have you check the QR code, but I can't paste it in here. It will not let me. Yeah, it's not going to let me. Won't let me paste it in here. So anyway, Bo made me a QR code for the link to the NCAA tournament. But again, check out AC's comment here about the Iranian women. Check them out. I don't know what's going on with them in Australia. I know they seeked asylum, and we're not going to get into too much of that tonight. Maybe Sunday on the Stream of Consciousness, but not here tonight. Too much to talk about NCAA basketball, which is first world problems. I get it, but that's what we're going to focus on. Waiting for Jack and Paul S. to get off the bench. I sent the link directly to Jack in an email the other day after the show, so we'll see if Jack gets in. Paul, I don't know that I've seen him in yet. AC, I don't know who anybody in. I know Rick's in. A lot of people get in with just a generic ESPN name. So there's only 7 of us so far in the men's tournament. So anyway, we're going to go through the brackets tonight, and we'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at some of the sleepers that I think have a shot here in each region. Some of the snubs, seeding questions, not really a lot. I don't have a lot of issues with seeding. One problem I have is St. John's. I think St. John's getting a 5 seed is really, really a bit of a disrespect to the Big East champion here. In both the regular season and the conference, Connecticut, who again, in all fairness, was ranked, in the top 10 and the top 4 a lot of the year, gets a 2 seed, and they got demolished 3 times. Well, I guess they split in the regular season, but St. John's won the last 2 meetings and won handily in the Big East final at Madison Square Garden. So. Playing hot basketball, too. 19-1 the last 20 games. They haven't lost since January 3rd, guys. A number 5 seed and getting sent out west while playing in East Regional. I hate these pods. the pod system. I've hated it. It's been in place, I don't know, maybe 20 years now. It's been a while, 15 anyway. I hate it. I like when you used to go and play, each region would have, you'd have two locations in each region for the first two rounds, right? And that's Saturday. And you still get all those games. You still only have two regions, but the regions would be the teams you would see the next round too. Or I'm sorry, in the next, when you get out of the regional, right? Or the first two rounds. So anyway, I'm not a big fan of the pod system, and I think St. John's gets kind of screwed here. The committee makes the right decision with no matter what Bruce Pearl has to say, leaving Auburn out. I don't care that they're the number one seed in the NIT. That's because they were at least the 65th or 69th seed, if you will, in the NCAA tournament. Not good enough. At some point, wins and losses matter. And all those Q1 games you want to talk about that they played, how about the fact that they got blown out in half of them? I'd like to see Miami of Ohio win here tonight. They're playing later on, 9:10, I think, 9:15. Right now we have Prairie View and Lehigh playing for the right to get their asses kicked in the first round. But we'll take a look at all that here in a little bit. Let's talk March Madness. We're doing that. I'll check it out. You know me, I'll check it out. I appreciate the heads up. What was I talking about? Bruce Pearl. Bruce Pearl is being very disingenuous to get paid by CBS and get paid by Auburn University and have some nepotism involved because he quit at a time at Auburn where they had no choice but to hire his son, Steve, who did not have a good year. So he sits in the CBS studios campaigning and in other venues for the last 3 weeks, berating Miami of Ohio and talking up the, Auburn specifically, not Oklahoma, not any of these other teams on the bubble, who, by the way, played themselves off the bubble, all of them. The only team I really think that got left out that has any argument was San Diego State out in the Mountain West. They get one bid. That's a better league than a one-bid league. One bid to the Mountain West with 2 or 3 teams that are deserving in my mind, but I got to get the 10th best team in the SEC. St. John did get disrespected, and they're a good bet and should have a chip on their shoulder. Yeah, I bet Gonzaga to win this whole thing as a kind of a value pick before their best player got hurt. But they're playing good defense, still playing well. They won the WCC tournament, and I think Gonzaga still is going to make a run on this, and they're going to be my pick to win in my bracket of integrity. I do have St. John's in the Final Four getting beat by Florida. And I got to go to the casino to make the bet anyway, AC, because you can't bet New York teams on draft apps. So Arkansas is a good bet, I think, as well. A couple of years ago, that when Eric Musselman was there, and they had a really good team coming out of the SEC. Didn't win the conference tournament like they did this year. But I had them at like plus 8,000. They were a pretty good bet. I think they went out in the round of 32 that year. Purdue did get a number 2 seed in the. We're going to go through this bracket here real quick. Purdue got a. Where are they? I believe they're in. I thought they were in the South. There they are. They're in the. They're in the West. They got the 2 seed, and the 1 seed there is Arizona, obviously. So Purdue's playing good basketball. Another team. There's a lot of teams with really, in my mind, a reasonable chance to win this tournament. If I go through here quickly, we're going to go through the brackets in a second. You're going to get every game from me. I made a couple of changes here recently. Probably got a couple too many flyers, and I could make a change on the fly here as we go through it. But we're going to do my bracket together. Maybe I'll share the bracket as we go through it. If you guys would like me to do that, I'll share my bracket. You can see all my picks. Duke, definitely. Arizona, Michigan, Florida. They're the fourth in Houston. We'll call 5 favorites, if you will, that can win this tournament, obviously. Outsiders, Iowa State. I haven't really bought into them all that much. Fred Hoiberg's done a great job there. But I'm not buying it. But they could make a run. UConn could get hot. They were hot much of the year. They just feel like they're a player short here. Purdue playing really good ball. Again, Matt Painter is a great, great coach. Virginia doesn't feel that good. In fact, I've got Virginia getting beat by Tennessee in the round of 32. St. John's definitely has enough to make a run. Michigan State with enough to make a run. Gonzaga, I've already said they've got enough to make a run. Only 3 losses on the year. 1 to Michigan early in the year. Illinois, their offense is good enough to make a run. Arkansas, and I think it stops there. Although I'm going to stretch this to Kansas. Probably are good enough to make a run. AC likes St. John's, Arkansas more than Purdue. I do too, by the way. If you're looking for a value pick, I don't know where St. John's is right now, but that would be a good pick value-wise. I'll stay on my Gonzaga pick. We'll see how it goes. I was thinking I might share my screen. We're going to go through this. Actually, before I share my picks, let's see what other. We'll talk about sleepers as we go through. We'll talk about favorites as we go through. Couple of notes. Todd Matta's retiring after 21 seasons. He coached started at Butler, went to Xavier, had a lot of success at Xavier, went to Ohio State, had really good success. I believe 3 Final Fours and lost in a final 1 year. Then went back to Butler. He decided to retire after 21 years. In football, a sad note, I want to send out our condolences to the family of Rex Culpepper, former starting quarterback at Syracuse here just not that many years ago, 26 years old, I think. Dies in a I think it was a dirt bike accident. Just about to get married, and again, a senseless death caught short here. Matt, well, I don't know if Matt Leinart came out today and said he's been asked several times about under-retiring his number 11 at USC, and he said no. And the reason he won't let this happen is because I'm going to do that. They're going to wear number 11 for 1 year and then transfer somewhere else. Not doing it. And Trinidad Chambliss, who we know has been had ongoing litigation to try to get another year of eligibility. As we stand today, I think he doesn't have it. The NCAA, they're all court shopping, right? To judge shopping to find somebody who'll rule in their favor. But he says he lost the cover of EA Sports college football video game, which is, again, probably worth millions of dollars. Another lawsuit will be on the horizon here, I'm sure, for lost NIL money. Anyway, just more business as usual in the NCAA. Rick's a UConn fan here. Has Hurley's coaching style gotten old with his players? I can't say that because they aren't there that long enough, Rick. I mean, think of how many guys. I guess I'd have to. I don't know if I can tell by the roster. If I can come up with the roster, I can tell you how many years these guys have been there. Yeah, I can't even tell from this because, Malachi Smith's a senior, but I guarantee he hasn't been there 4 years. So, listen, I love his coaching style. I'm sure you, as a UConn fan, love his coaching style because he won back-to-back national championships. Do I think UConn's his last stop? I do not. I don't see him in the pros, though. I see him in college. Maybe he's a lifer at UConn. Jim Calhoun, certainly was a lifer there once he got there from Northeastern. But I don't think it's old because the players don't stay there 4 years. You're lucky if they're there for 2. I mean, the bench players are, but who cares what they think? Right? So, no, I really don't think that's the case. And by the way, he doesn't coach any different than Rick Pitino. He doesn't coach a lot different than Mick Cronin. Sorry, Danny, out in UCLA. These are all successful coaches. Cronin not as successful as the 2 guys we just mentioned, obviously. And with guys not staying 4 years, I just don't see where it's probably all that relevant. So I'm going to go through. I'm going to see if I can share this, and we'll see how it works out. We'll get rid of that because that's not going to work. Let's see if I can share my. Can I share this and have it look like anything or not? End of the stage. I don't know. Can we see that, or is it just like gobbledygook? So there's like the first bracket in the East. Can I see that, or is it just not worth the effort? You guys can tell me. There's Chris. The YouTube chat's where it's at. Welcome, Chris. Again, welcome Rick and AC as well. And anybody else that's out there, feel free to comment and like, share the show, do what you got to do. Invite your friends. I guess we can see this, right? So I'm going to go through this chat. And I'll come back to the comments. I got to look at the bracket and scroll. So I'm going to start in the East. Okay, these games that are played, 319. I guess we don't have the locations here on this bracket, unfortunately, but that's okay. Duke and Siena should not be much of a matchup here. I'd love to see Siena find a way to upset Duke, and Siena's had some pretty sizable upsets in the NCAA tournament as they've won 4 games in this tournament in their history. I think their biggest win was over a 3 seed in Stanford. Many years ago, probably like 1980, I don't know, late 80s. I don't think they have a chance. So I got Duke advancing easily here. I like TCU to kind of upset Ohio State. They're the 9 seed against the 8. I like them to have a chance here to possibly take down Duke. TCU is playing pretty good under Jamie Dixon right now. St. John's, Northern Iowa. Northern Iowa seems to be and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through the East bracket, and then I'll go back to some comments, and then we'll continue to the next bracket. Northern Iowa is a popular upset pick here. I don't like it. I think St. John's is playing really good basketball. Some talk that teams aren't as hungry after they or they're overconfident once they've won their conference tournament and they're better off losing. Not buying it. 19 out of 20. They haven't lost since January 3rd. I've got St. John's going to the Final Four. Kansas against California Baptist. I've heard this one mentioned as an upset possibility. Not happening. Kansas wins this probably easily. Small spread, too. Danny mentioned Sunday. At that point, it was only 14.5. Not sure what it is right now. We aren't looking at the spreads necessarily. But we can do that at any point. Anybody wants to bring those up, we can certainly do it. Louisville over South Florida. I like Louisville to win this. I think too much talent. South Florida, another popular pick to win a first-round game. I think they win easily. Michigan State and North Dakota State. Tom Izzo will have his team ready to play. In a 10-7 game, that's going to be a very tight game, I think. UCLA and UCF will play each other. And I think UCLA comes out a winner here. In fact, I've got them winning a couple of games. UConn and Furman. Furman's been in this position before, and they've beaten, I think, a number 2 in Virginia a few years back. Been in this role before. Totally different team, obviously. I don't think UConn loses this game, but I don't have them going very far. That brings us to Duke and TCU in the games that would be played Saturday. Saturday and Sunday. I like Duke over TCU. Duke, even with their injuries, Cal Foster and one of their big men, they're too good to lose these first two games. St. John's and Kansas is a very interesting second round game. Another place where this tournament has kind of put St. John's up against it, having to do all this traveling and having a second round opponent as good as Kansas. Kansas is loaded with talent, but they don't show up every night. I like St. John's to win a close game here in the second round. Michigan State over Louisville. Again, I think the coaching experience, Louisville's had a great turnaround this year. Went out kind of early in the ACC tournament, but I think Michigan State wins this game. UCLA is a team that I've got as a 7 seed getting to the Elite Eight. I've got them beating UConn, upsetting UConn, 7-2 in a game that will get played on Sunday afternoon. Check that game out. I think they haven't won a lot of games away from Poly Pavilion this year, but the team has played better here later in the season, beat some of the best teams in the Big Ten, didn't have a terrible run in the Big Ten tournament. I like this team to win 2 or 3 games. That brings us to the Friday games next week. I like St. John's, and that's a big matchup. Duke and St. John's, classic matchup of storied programs. St. John's certainly not with the history that Duke has. They've only been to one Final Four and got blown out there under the great Lou Carnesecca, but a solid until the last. I mean, look at Rick Pitino's brought them from the ashes, and got this team playing some great basketball, better than they played at any time, probably since 1980. What was that? 1986, when they went to the national semifinals, got blown out by Georgetown. In the other side of the bracket, I like UCLA to upset Michigan State. I may change that one. I haven't decided. In fact, I am going to change that one. I think Michigan State wins this game. I'm changing up here. You'll see this on the a little bit on the fly here. I've already made a couple of changes in this bracket, but I'm going to switch that up and take Michigan State to go to the regional final against St. John's, and I like St. John's to win that game. I think this team goes to the Final Four, and then they run out of gas. If I was going to take a flyer on anybody in this region, it might be UCLA, as I've just switched off them. If you want another team that could maybe I don't think there is Kansas is another team, I suppose, if they get hot, they would win. Duke is the favorite to get to the Final Four out of this region. I have got, as you can see, St. John's getting to the Final Four out of this region. Now we'll take a couple comments before we move on to the next. Before we move on to the next region, what do we got here? Maybe we don't have anything. There's Chris. Guess we only had one comment during that whole thing. Happy birthday to Shine Kinderdine. He's up in heaven taking a sheet to blow out. Blow out. Oh, I see. Blow out 133 candles, product of Miamisburg High School. Played one game in the NFL for the Dayton Triangles. Happy birthday. Happy birthday in heaven. Happy birthday in heaven to my mom, too, by the way. Yesterday on St. Patrick's Day would have been my mom's 85th birthday. And we miss her, and we'll think about her and love her certainly every day. So a little quick shout out to my mom. As we move on to the next region, I'm giving you guys all my secrets by showing this bracket. You know that, right? All right. We'll move over here to the West. Very tough bracket. Number 1, Arizona gets number 16, LIU. LIU won't have a chance here. Arizona might be, they're the healthiest, and I think they might be the best balanced. They have a little trouble shooting the ball now and again. inside game is really good. The outside game, not so much. So if that gets taken away, you could have some problems. But I think they handle LIU without a problem. Villanova and Utah State. That's when I debated back and forth. Utah State, the only representative out of the Mountain West. Great season again this year out of the Mountain West. Has had a couple of really good seasons. And I think they'll handle Villanova will handle Utah State in this game. The first big upset I'll pick in this tournament is number 5 Wisconsin getting beat by High Point out of North Carolina. This team has played really good basketball 2 years in a row. They went out in the first round last year, their first appearance ever. I really like High Point to get out and take it to this team. They play good offense. They play good defense. Haven't played anybody the caliber of Wisconsin this year. But the unknown is what often will get some of these guys, the higher seeds, bit. And I do like High Point to win this game. Arkansas will have no trouble with Hawaii. Arkansas playing really good basketball off the SEC championship now. John Calipari has his team geared for a decent ride, potentially, in the NCAA tournament, as we mentioned earlier. BYU and Texas. Texas won last night over NC State in a buzzer beater, 2 buzzer beaters last night. Howard with a close win over UMBC last night as well. There's a UBMC. It doesn't matter. I like BYU playing better basketball. They had a real rough patch for about a month, 3 weeks here in February, but started to get it together at the end of the season and through the Big 12 tournament. I like BYU to get by Texas in this game. Gonzaga, Kennesaw State. I don't see much of a challenge here for Gonzaga. I like them to move on against the 14 seed. Miami of Florida, will play number 10 Missouri out of the SEC. Missouri, one of the teams that I question their credentials for being in this tournament, quite frankly. One of the teams that I would say maybe should be home, and one of the other top teams from the mid-majors we give a shot. But they're in this tournament, and we're going to give Miami the win in this one. And Purdue will play Queens, who is in this tournament for the first time ever. It's Queens in North Carolina, by the way, Queens College. So back to the top, that brings Arizona against Villanova. Great job by Kevin Willard this year, getting Villanova turned around after a couple bad years with Neptune as their coach after Jay Wright left. Kevin Willard, I think, will keep this program in contention and near the top of the Big East in years to come. Just not quite there just yet. They'll lose to Arizona in the round of 32. Arkansas will end High Point's excitement in round 2. Again, High Point, really good season. John Calipari's got his team playing and kicking on all cylinders right now, and I think they could be a Final Four contender. They won't be just because of my other picks here. Gonzaga and BYU, I think this will be a interesting matchup. BYU is a little bit more high-powered, obviously, than Gonzaga. Their offense is not what we've come to expect, but I think the defense will carry the day for Gonzaga and through this tournament, and Gonzaga gets the win here. Miami and Purdue, I've got Purdue, I think, probably easily beating Miami of Florida. Again, a good first year turnaround for Miami after just a horrible year last year in the ACC and overall, and causing Jim Larangara to step away at midseason. But again, a nice turnaround here. And remember, this team, not this team, we got to remember that when we're talking about these teams now. We're just in the Final Four here a couple of years ago. That would leave Arizona playing Arkansas. I flipped this one around a couple of times, guys, but I finally landed on Arizona. Again, a more complete team. A couple of losses in league. Kansas, one of them to Kansas. I think Tommy Floyd's done a really good job here. I think they're going to get a rematch, possibly with the mentor and the student in this region, with Gonzaga and Arizona matching up in the regional final, because I've got Gonzaga finding a way to get past number 2 Purdue. I think Gonzaga easily could have been a number 2 seed here. Mark Few, this team's being kind of overlooked a little bit because they aren't sexy like they've been a bunch of years here in the recent past. Mark Few's a very underrated coach, and I wouldn't doubt that this team is got a chance to win the whole thing. And that leaves Arizona and Gonzaga in the regional final. Again, it's mentor against student. And I think the mentor's got a couple tricks maybe he didn't teach the student, and he'll need it for the number 3 seed Gonzaga Zags to get past Arizona and into the Final Four. So there you have it. There's 2 of your Final Four teams. It's Gonzaga and St. John's so far. And I'll bring it back down here, but I'll also see if we've got some more comments here. Probably shouldn't take myself out, right? Peter Incaviglia still looked to be an Adonis at Oklahoma State, still holds a record for 100 home runs in 212 games. Once quoted, I just love to hit home runs. Well, that's a good quote. UNLV played great basketball within some of the lowest scoring games. They conquered recently, winning 73-70, but this team, I don't even know if they're in the NIT. A lot of teams didn't go to the NIT, by the way. Indiana passed. And there's this tournament in Vegas now that's offering like $1 million to the team that wins it all. So there's a bunch of teams under 500 in it. Does anybody really care? Is anybody going to watch those games? I don't even watch the NIT anymore. So, I mean, UNLV didn't have a good year. They had a very mediocre year and a very mediocre conference this year. I shouldn't say that. The Mountain West is much better than people think it is. So they didn't get any respect in this tournament, getting only Utah State in. I think San Diego State had an argument, and New Mexico probably had an argument, but San Diego State was probably the only one. Again, I'd rather see them in than the Missouris and the Texases of the world. I don't need to see the 10th team in the SEC. I hate to beat a dead horse, but what do you see? 7'1" Turkish center Dramil Shlomazel. Brian's got his bracket in the group. That's good. We'll continue along my bracket of integrity, and we'll move to the South Conference, or South Region, excuse me. Florida will be playing the winner of this Prairie View Lehigh game, which is led right now by Lehigh 29-27 at the half. Won't matter. Florida, their hiccup with Arkansas aside, getting blown out by them this past weekend. Florida has been playing. I talked about St. John's playing great basketball. Florida is playing as well as anybody in the country before that game. They do seem to have all the things that it takes. They have good guard play. They have good three-point shooters. They have decent defense, good perimeter defense. They'll need it all in this region, but I like Florida to obviously beat this team. Iowa and Clemson. Another game I hemmed and hawed about a lot. I took Clemson. Clemson has not had a good it's not had the best luck in the NCAA tournament through the years, but I do see them getting past, again, a very mediocre Iowa team coming out of the Big Ten. McNeese State, my second 12. I've got two 12s winning in the first round. This one I got winning 2 games, by the way. So McNeese I've got over Vanderbilt here in round 1. Vanderbilt had a really nice season, getting to the conference final in the SEC, having a good regular season, fading a little bit in the end of the regular season, but coming alive again in the SEC tournament. We'll see if they can keep it going. McNeese they've got a high-powered offense. Will Wade was a coach there last year, and his top assistant took over here this year, and they haven't missed a beat. Played really well and had a really big win over Stephen F. Austin last week to get into this tournament after finishing second in the league during the regular season. Nebraska, the storied Nebraska Cornhuskers, at least in football. And basketball, this team has never won an NCAA tournament game. They'll play Troy. There are some people that like Troy in this game. I think Nebraska, who had a great start to the season, has been ranked higher than they've ever been ranked in history, was leading the Big Ten for a lot of the season until, again, some late season blues. I think Nebraska gets by Troy here and moves on to the next round. VCU had to win most likely the A-10 tournament to get in, and they did so, earning a number 11 seed, avoiding the first four here as an 11 seed. Because we got two teams playing for an 11 seed. One of them was Texas last night. They got in, and Miami of Ohio and SMU will play later on tonight for that other 11 seed. Carolina's hurting without Wilson. You know, they kind of limped home at the end of the regular season. Not a bad season under Hubert Davis until you kind of compare it to what Duke and John Shire has done. I like VCU. This is a different team than the Shaka Smart and Earl Grant teams. You know, they don't pressure, 95 feet. They play a little bit different game. They take more threes. They play a more traditional, conventional college basketball offense and defense. And VCU is going to be a live dog here. Illinois will beat Penn. And Fran McCaffrey, by the way, back in has taken now 5 programs to the NCAA tournament. Only the 5th coach, I think, maybe the 7th coach to do that all time. He'll be there. By the way, they'll be playing right after his former team, Siena, who he did get one of those 4 wins in the NCAA tournament with. And lately, the last 12, 13 years, he'd been at Iowa. He'll play, his Penn team will play Illinois right after Siena gets clobbered by Duke tomorrow night. So check that game out. But Illinois has got too much defense here. Bruce Underwood's done a great job with this team. Maybe not the best team in the Big Ten, but certainly not the worst. They'll get by at least one round. I like St. Mary's out of the WCC. I think I have all 3 entries from the Western Collegiate Conference winning their first round game. St. Mary's I like over Texas A&M. Again, not kind of an up and down season for Texas A&M. St. Mary's has played really good, and they've kind of earmarked themselves as one of the best of the mid majors now. We can't call Gonzaga a mid major anymore, even though they're playing in the same conference as St. Mary's. I like St. Mary's to get by Texas A&M here, and Houston and Kelvin Sampson, who lost last year's national championship game to Florida. I think he'll have a pretty good run here in this tournament, starting with Idaho tomorrow night, 10 o'clock. We go back to the top of this bracket. Defending champion Florida against Clemson. Again, too much firepower. The coaching edge goes to Florida. The experience edge. There's a couple of guys at least left on this team from this national championship team last year. And I think there's a chance, right, for Florida to do what for the second time in 4 years, have a team go back to back. Connecticut, did it the 2 years before Florida won last year, and that was the first time it had been done in 20 some years. That team was Florida, so they may have a chance to do it themselves for the second time. And I like McNeese to beat Nebraska. Nebraska gets their first win, but I don't think this is as good a Nebraska team as it was early in the year. For whatever reason, they became very mediocre down the stretch. Didn't play that great in the Big attend conference tournament. And I think McNeese State pulls an upset and makes it to the Sweet 16. The only 12 I've got getting into the Sweet 16. VCU, I've got beating Illinois. I think this will be an offensive game. A lot of points scored in this game. But I think VCU is going to get on a little bit of a run here. And it'll get stopped next round by Houston. But I think VCU beats Illinois. And I like Houston to beat St. Mary's. Well, St. Mary's will keep this close. This will probably be an ugly game. I think they'll try to limit possessions, probably both teams. And neither one of them are great shooting teams. So this game might be played in the 60s or less. But nonetheless, Houston advances and continues their streak. Florida will stop McNeese run as the Blue Bloods now, the cream of the crop will start to rise. The cream will start to rise to the top here, right? I think Florida beats McNeese State probably easily in the Sweet 16. And I would see Houston beating VCU. I think a closer game probably than a McNeese State-Florida game. But I think Houston will prevail over VCU in this game. The Rams. And in a rematch of last year's championship game, Florida gets by Houston to get themselves back to the Final Four and give themselves a chance to win a second consecutive national championship. VCU is playing Cal Irvine in the NIT. There you go, Chris. Your team is still alive and playing in the greatly diminished, unfortunately, NIT. I'm surprised that some of these teams in the NIT didn't go play in this Vegas tournament. Where there's a cash payout to the players. So the birthday shout out gets skipped for whose birthday did I miss? Oh, well, it's Cito Gaston's birthday, but I would have mentioned that. My mom's birthday yesterday. So I'm not sure which one. I did mention my mom's birthday, but I didn't mention the others. Chris, if I missed something, you let me know. Oh, did I skip the birthday shout out? No, I put it up there. Your birthday shout out. Yeah, I put it up there. Shine. Oops, where is he? Yeah, Shine Kinderdine. I read the whole he's up in heaven looking to take a sheet to blow out 133 candles. So yeah, I got you. I don't skip too many. All right, let's go. We got one last region to get through, and that is the Midwest, where Michigan is the number one seed. And they're going to get Howard, who won a nail biter last night against UMBC, as I said. Michigan just got too much firepower. I think. Listen, Coach Day's done a great job there. You know, there was a great question, and we can certainly discuss this as we continue through the show here. I saw this question come up somewhere. Who is the next school most likely school to win? And it's only happened, I think, once, and it was done by Florida. I want to say back in 2006. Win basketball and football championships in the same year. Who's the most likely candidate to do that next? And I could only come up with Michigan and Alabama. Florida's not close. Houston's not close. Gonzaga has no team. St. John's has no team in football. Georgia's not going to be close in basketball. Something we can discuss here either on this show or later on, but it's a question I read about today and I found great interest in. So anyway, Michigan will get by Howard pretty easily. I know Rick's not a Georgia basketball fan, but I do have St. Louis upsetting, if you will. 9-8's not always a huge upset, obviously. I think St. Louis, who's played really good basketball, just re-signed their coach to extension, hopefully keeping them away from some of the scavengers out there. I like St. Louis to beat Georgia here in the first round. Another upset. I've got 3-12s winning. They're not all going to win. We know that, right? But when I don't like teams to win more than one game, I think it's worth picking an upset. And I like Akron to do that here over Texas Tech. Texas Tech, again, another team, not the same without their star players going down. Didn't play well in the Big 12 tournament. Didn't play that well to finish out the season. Seems to me to be a prime candidate to get upset. Another team that people think is a prime upset candidate would be Hofstra over Alabama. I don't see it. Hofstra University out of Long Island. 3 teams in Long Island, by the way, in the NCAA tournament: St. John's, Hofstra, and LIU. Congratulations to the great borough, I guess, of Long Island. It's Queens more than I guess, but St. John's is still kind of Long Island. So, but I don't see Speedy Claxton and his team getting this done. I think Alabama, Nate Oates, this is a team, and they're going to be without one of their best players too, who got arrested for marijuana possession the other day, which I didn't even know you got arrested in this country much anymore for that. But apparently they'll be without him for at least the first round. But Alabama wins this game. And Alabama is that other team that I would think would be in contention. Only 2 I can come up with in the country right now. As I thought about this today, I haven't come up with anybody besides Michigan and Alabama with a chance to win dual championships in the same year. But we'll take Alabama here. They're not going to win the championship this year. Tennessee, they get the winner of this Miami Ohio SMU game tonight. That'll be played at 9:10. This game's tied now, by the way. I'd like to root for Miami of Ohio tonight and to win a first-round game. I don't think it'll happen. I think Tennessee and Rick Barnes are going to get on a little bit of a roll here. I just have a feeling, and they're a number 6 seed, up and down season in the SEC. I just have this sense they're a better shooting team than they've played in a while, and they still play really good defense, which is a trademark of Rick Barnes' teams. I think they win this game handily. Virginia Wright State, I'd like Virginia to get by there. Santa Clara, the 3rd team from the WCC, I see winning in the first round, a 10-7 game over Kentucky. Mark Pope's had a very up and down, had a real good season last year, very up and down season in the SEC this year. And I can see this team getting knocked out here in the first round. And number 2 seed, NC State, will play Tennessee State. I like Iowa State to win here. Back to the top, Michigan and St. Louis, as great a season as St. Louis has had. I think Michigan and Dusty May continue their great season. They've learned how to play without their star player and play very well, as we saw in the Big Ten tournament. I think this team is on its way potentially to a Final Four. We'll see how that plays out. Akron's Cinderella run ends early with Alabama knocking them out in the round of 32. Tennessee, I think, will beat a very beatable Virginia team. 6-3. Not certainly earth-shattering. Virginia, I think, very vulnerable. The ACC came back at a much better year this year, started off kind of weak. As the season went on, this league got deeper and deeper, I thought, quality-wise. But I think Virginia might be a weaker link here. And I think some of these AC teams are actually weaker links here as we've hit tournament time due to injury and other factors. I think Tennessee beats Virginia in this game. Iowa State will end Santa Clara's run as well in the round of 32. As we get to the Sweet 16, Michigan, Alabama, 1-4 matchup. Alabama's got the firepower to beat this Michigan team. I just think talent-wise, 2 great coaches in my mind. Nate Oates is one of my favorite coaches in college basketball. Dusty May, I can't talk enough about the job that he's done here at Michigan, the job that he did at Florida Atlantic, getting them to a Final Four here a couple of years ago. Something that's going to become less and less commonplace. By the way, we've talked about the NIL and the portal. Remember, in that final, you had UConn, who was the number 1 seed, but you had San Diego State, you had Florida Atlantic. I think Florida Atlantic might have been a 10 seed. San Diego State was like a 7 or 8 seed, and you had Miami, Florida, who was maybe a 3 or 4. They had a really good team that year. But you're not going to see these mid-majors get there that much anymore. Mid-majors and below. You're not going to have classic Cinderellas make it much past the first weekend like we have in the past, in my mind, as often. It's going to happen. But the great factors that would level the playing field for them and the power conference teams is gone. And the fact that you don't have kids playing 4 years together, so that experience factor is gone. You don't even have kids playing 4 years at the same school, much less 5 of them playing together. That was a big factor in some of these teams that have made runs at least to the Elite Eight, sometimes to the Final Four. So there's, that continuity, that experience level gone. I don't think you're going to see these runs that much anymore. I mean, even the teams I like, the upset teams here in this tournament, I don't have them going very far. 2 wins at most. Anyway, Michigan will win over Alabama in this 1-4 matchup. The 6-2 matchup, I like Tennessee to continue their run and get to the Elite Eight against that number 1 Michigan seed. I think defense will probably be very prevalent in this game. Tennessee and Iowa State. Again, Iowa State's done really well. Hoiberg's done a great job. His son is a good story, playing for his dad and being one of the star players on that team. They've had great wins in a very tough league in the Big 12. I just see it coming to an end here, and Rick Barnes getting a chance to get another team to the Final Four potentially. But I do see it coming to an end in the Elite Eight, and Michigan beating them in the regional final. Michigan will be your 4th Final Four team. So my Final Four, again, St. John's, Florida, Gonzaga, Michigan. I see Gonzaga finding a way to let the air out of that great Michigan offense. The defense of Gonzaga, and maybe if their guard's been inconsistent this year. If their guards can step up and put it together, I really feel this Gonzaga team can make a run at the Final Four. And as you can see over here, at a national championship. I see Florida getting by St. John's in a really, I think, maybe a classic Final Four game, Florida and St. John's. Gonzaga and Michigan, probably the same thing. I think there's 2 games that could come down to the final possessions of the game. And a big play or a big turnover, a big foul, turning it the tide here late in one of these games. But I see a Florida-Gonzaga final with Gonzaga getting the win. And I want you guys to see my tiebreaker. But we're there. That's my bracket of integrity. Rip it apart. What do you got here? Michigan is longer. They're much longer than Alabama. I love Nate Oates is a great coach. Done a great job. Let me get rid of this. Done a great job at Alabama. I love the fact that he kind of pays homage to Wimp Sanderson, former Alabama coach, many moons ago, and his checkered jackets. A little bit toned down, I think, from Wimp, but great coach. I think they're a little bit undermanned, especially with the arrest of one of their star players for marijuana possession, which, again, I didn't know we were doing these days. George Peros played responsible hockey during his tenure at Princeton University. Fighting may have hurt your test scores. Oh gosh, good stuff, Chris. If I can get my sorry, I got locked out of here. All right, so questions. Let me go through some of these regions again. Again, I talked already that there's a lot of teams that can win this tournament. I don't know that Gonzaga can get there. I got a feeling. Mark Few, under the radar. There's some fun matchups here. You can get Duke and Kansas in the second. I'm sorry. Was it Duke and Kansas? No, St. John's and Kansas in the second round. That's going to be a lot of fun. You get some good early. You get UConn and UCLA in the second round, potentially. Looking at some of these second round matchups, that could be really fun. Arizona Villanova could be a fun game. I think that Akron Alabama game, better watch out for. Alabama better be careful there, by the way. St. Mary's Houston could be a big game. So got some interesting matchups here early in this tournament. And even TCU Duke could be, listen, don't sleep on TCU. Jamie Dixon's team got off to a tough start, but they're playing much better basketball now than they were early in the season. Tommy Lloyd again. I hope I said Tommy Lloyd earlier. Mark Few is his mentor. And I do think we're going to get an Arizona Gonzaga regional final, which will be a lot of fun. I think my regional finals are really good matchups. St. John's and Michigan State, a very interesting matchup in styles. You know that Pitino's going to throw out that pressure, for 90 feet or 94 feet, whatever the length that court is these days. I think that Arizona Gonzaga matchup would be a tremendous matchup. The other side of the bracket in the regionals, Florida and Houston, a rematch of last year's national championship game, a very closely fought game, and Calvin Sampson not quite getting over the hump. Michigan, two schools that Michigan and Tennessee, two schools that have had basketball success. Michigan's won national championships. Tennessee is not. Tennessee's been to a couple of Final Fours in their career, has had really good teams going back to the 70s through a lot of different coaches, but never quite able to get over the top. And Michigan, listen, they never won with the Fab Five. Their only win was the year Bill Frater got fired for taking a job at Arizona State, and Steve Fisher took over that team on an interim basis, and they went on a run and won the entire thing, beating Seton Hall in the final. Great run. One of the best runs in my lifetime in this tournament. So lots of stuff, lots of fun stuff that can happen in this tournament. The long and short of your bracket is you're going down again. That's possible. Rick, and I got to give kudos to Rick. He won both the men's and the women's bracket last year. I can give you my women's bracket too, since we're talking about it. Let me back it up here. Where's my bracket? I'll give you I'm not going to go through all the games in the women, but I'll give you the women's Final Four that I have. And that's easy to say right now, Rick. We just got to make it, you got to make it stand up. Where's my women's bracket here? Oh, here it is. We got 6 of us so far in the women's. We need more people in this one. I'll put a since we're talking about it, I'll put the link up here in just a second. I copied it. Yes, I did. Okay. So let's see who I have in the Final Four here. I'll give you the regional finals that I have for all of them. They don't even have directional regions. We just have regions 1 through 4. So in region 1, in the I want to make sure I get the right thing here. All right. In region 1, I've got UConn and Notre Dame in the regional final, and I've got UConn winning to be one of the Final Four selections there. In region 4, I've got South Carolina beating Michigan State. So you got one side of the bracket, you got 2 of the powers in a traditional power nearly every year. Gino Auriemma's UConn team, and South Carolina, who's been a big power the last few years. They'll be in the Final Four on one side of the bracket. On the other side, I've got Baylor and Kim Mularkey at LSU in the regional final, with Baylor prevailing there, the number 6 seed. And I've got the other number 1, Texas and Connecticut, Texas and Kentucky in the regional final. Texas winning out. I've got UConn over South Carolina in the semis, and I've got Baylor over Texas, and I do have UConn and Baylor in the final, and UConn winning it all over there. So here's the as soon as I get through the rest of these comments, I'm going to put the link up for the women. I got Houston over Michigan in the finals. There you go. That's a good one. Listen, Houston's a good team. Calvin Sampson's done a great job with that team. I think they have trouble in stretches putting the ball in the basket. So that's one place that I'd watch that out. I'd watch out. Bit of a homer pick. That's fine. You didn't pick the ultimate homer pick, Brian, in Michigan beating Houston. Brian does a great job, by the way, at the McGrath Podcast Network. Keeping everything afloat, getting a really good schedule together, looking to add shows. I'd reach out to Ralph Williams, by the way, Brian, because I know he was interested even before Mac passed. So he might be somebody you want to reach out to about more shows, and he does a great job. And check out all the shows on the McGrath Podcast Network. Great job, and love doing the roundtable shows with the guys. Oh, not last year, the year before? Well, then you're a has-been. My bracket will be fun. Anybody can sit here and pick chalk. I like to have some fun with my picks, especially when there's not much money involved. If anybody's interested, by the way, I can email them the link, or not a link, but I can send them an email. There's a survivor pool that I'm in. I've been in for years. And you pick one game a day. And you got to, when you run out of teams, so if you pick every game right and you get to the Final Four and you got nobody left, you don't have a pick. You lost. You're out of the survivor pool. So you got to be careful where you make your picks. But you make a pick Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, one pick. It's $20 to get in. Last year the pool was worth about $6,000, maybe $5,000 something. I think they're up over $3,000 now. I would think by tomorrow they'll be around $5,000 again, if not more. They do a great job of driving. If anybody's interested, I'll need your email and I'll send it to you. A lot of fun though. $20 an entry. You can have up to 5 entries. I do a couple. I'll keep you abreast of my progress on the shows too. I'm not too kind. You've done a great job picking the ball up where nobody else wanted to, including yours truly. So kudos to you, my friend, and continue the good work. Oh, what do you got here? Toronto Argonauts. What? Continue to sign American college football players. They can't sign American. They probably aren't signing a lot of American football players that expect to be drafted in the American or the U.S. draft. That'd be NFL draft, I should say. Someday I'll get back into the CFL. I don't know. I'm still too kind. There's our boy Scott Kobe. Send some good thoughts Scott's way if you would, guys. Won't dive into it here, but I know he'd appreciate it. Scott's in the pool. I know that. Curious. You guys don't want to give away your... you're certainly welcome, my friend. Anybody here wants to, talk about, maybe you don't want to give me your final 4 picks, and I'll see them. If you're not in the pool, you can give them without any repercussions, but I doubt there's anybody here that's going to sway anybody's opinion, right? I can tell you I'm not changing my picks based on what anybody says. So if anybody wants to get into who they've got in their final 4s, who their sleepers might be, we can certainly look into that. VCU is a team. If there was going to be a sleeper that made it all the way through this tournament, I would probably say VCU is one of them. St. Louis might be one of them. The A-10, I think, could have a team that sleeps its way through this tournament. Tennessee, if you want to. Again, if they can get the ultimate upset against Michigan, is another team that I think could get on a and surprise here at a 6 seed. So I would call that sleeper. Not as deep a sleep as say VCU or every year I think St. Mary's has got a shot. I don't really think so this year. Hell, I guess St. John's is a sleeper at 5 if you want to rank them that low NCAA tournament. The Cinderellas are going to have a tough time, I think, going forward. I really do. All those things I talked about before that leveled the playing field, they've been used up. They're gone. So, anyway, guys, get in the tournament. Did I put I didn't put the women's in here, did I? So I put the men in here. I'll put these up again. Scott's got Arizona, Duke, Iowa State, Illinois. Listen, Illinois is at a 3. Illinois is a good pick, good value pick to kind of win it all. Certainly get to the Final 4. All right, see you slide. See you slide. See you Friday, Rick. I'll be trying to force Jack. Well, I can't get him in the tournament after today. I don't think Jack's going to get in, but I'm going to make Jack give us some picks. I can tell you that right now. He's going to give me a Final 4. If you're listening, Jack, whether you like it or not, there'll be a Final 4 involved here. Alabama's another team that could make a run. I mean, again, they're going to be without Aiden Holloway after his arrest. I don't know how long, but they'll be without him for a while. I don't see a lot of these are the teams. The cream's gonna rise up. Again, St. John's not a big upset to get to the Final 4 in my mind. They got a very tough draw, right? I mean, I like Gonzaga a lot. I mean, I think again they're flying. They're somehow flying under the radar with 30 wins. Braden Huff's health means a lot to this team. He's probably not going to be available at least early in this tournament. But they rebound well. They play suffocating defense. They crash those offensive boards, and I think you got to get past. They got to get better guard play and shoot better from 3-point range than they have a lot of this season. But I just don't think this is a team that's really going to take themselves out of the games. That's why I like them. What else? Who else are? We did have, by the way, the where is that? We do have a very interesting matchup, as I said. In where's that game being played? Why won't they tell me where these games are being played? It's really ticking me off, man. God, I hate the fact that I'm not seeing where these games are being played. Ticking me off. None of the brackets I'm looking at are giving me the locations of the games. Hate that. And with this pod system, you never freaking know where anybody is. Tell Jack not to be afraid we don't hit as hard as Spinks Jinx. Congratulations to Jack Hirsch, by the way. Jack is finally, he's been working on this book for a long time. It's an authorized biography of Michael Spinks called Michael Jinx Spinks. My copy's been ordered. I know Rick does the same thing on whatever he reads on my Kindle. I read everything on my Kindle, but for Jack, I ordered a hard copy. So he was sure I would cheap out, just buy for the Kindle. I don't buy it because it's less expensive. That happens to be one of the byproducts. So it's just easy. But congratulations to Jack. And I know Jack and Frank Laterzo will have Michael Spinks on their show Monday night. Glove Fist at 7:00 Eastern time. So check that out. And we'll have Michael on the weekend playbook at some point as well. So looking forward to that. Congratulations again to Jack for getting that done. What else, guys? I mean, I've gone through my bracket. You guys have anything else you want to chat about? If you don't, please share this show, like and follow. Sonia's out there. Hello, Sonia. John Gonzalez. Sonia, get in the pool. I didn't put the women up again. Let me put the women up. There's the women's pool. And I'm going to put the men up again, too, just for the hell of it. That's the men's bracket. So we'll copy this and we'll put the men up again, too. So you got a bunch of links here, guys. Please come back. Get in this. Get in. We only got, I don't know what we got now. Let's see if I can refresh. Brian, if you didn't get in the women, get in the women's bracket. You'll have fun. 2 years ago, Rick won them both. I guess we had 15 or so in each one of them. What do we have now? Somehow I'm in Dick Vitale's bracket. I have no idea how I got there. All games. I think this is my games. Let's see what we got going on here. And I can't see anybody's picks. Donna, if you're out there, I can't see if you did your bracket right because they're very good. We got 7 now in the women, and we're up to 8 in the men. We'll get some last minute entries. I'm going to post it. I'm going to share it to a couple of the groups later. John Gonzalez, I hope that's okay if I share it into, if I share it to the sports authorities. I'm going to share it to a bunch of my favorite groups if they let me share, because Facebook again has me locked down for sharing, because I think Brian's doing it now. Perfect. Good to have it. I think in sharing one of the shows, I always put comments in, right? I'll post like the preview and tags and whatnot and copy and paste it in every share that I do. Well, Facebook now had left like the same text up, so I was just repeating it, and I thought I could just share it. I think when you're doing it without putting any text into the comments into the share, they think it's spamming and robots doing it and whatnot. So I think that's why I got shut down. I've been able to put some stuff in the sports authorities, but I'm blocked from getting to a lot of these groups until March 22nd. The Nazis got me again. But, sorry about that. Somebody put up, I was talking about the, I guess not. Yeah, it's an interesting topic, though, I brought up earlier. Most likely team to win dual national championships in basketball and college football the same year going forward. The last time it was done, 2006. The only time it was done, I believe, 2006 with Florida. The coach was Billy Donovan was the football coach, and Urban Meyer would have been the football coach. And Billy Donovan went back-to-back, if you remember. That was also the last back-to-back championships before UConn did it here a couple of years ago. So, little trivia there as well. But who's the next? I can't see anybody other than Michigan and Alabama having that type of opportunity. And it's probably far-fetched for both of them. I mean, Alabama might be closer to a basketball championship than a football championship, quite frankly. And so might Michigan. That's kind of shocking, right? So the two teams that I say are really the only two teams that are in position to do this. Let me look at some others. Duke? No. I'm just going to look at the top 25. Duke? No. Arizona? No. Michigan? Closer to basketball than football. Shocking. Now, they did have Kyle Whittingham. Gives them a big step up, I think, and they aren't too far removed from a national championship in football, but they're probably closer in baseball or basketball. Florida, not close in football, close in basketball. Houston, not close in football, close in basketball. Iowa State, certainly not close in football, especially after losing Matt Campbell. UConn, no. Purdue, no. Virginia, no. St. John's, no football. Michigan State, no. Gonzaga, no football. Illinois might be the third choice. Arkansas, doubtful. Nebraska, no. Vanderbilt, maybe Vanderbilt's the third choice. Kansas, no. Alabama, we said they're one of the top two. Wisconsin, no. Texas Tech, hey. They get righted on the basketball side. The football team is getting close. So maybe we got 5. North Carolina, no. St. Mary's, no football. Tennessee, I could put them in there. Louisville, Miami, not close on the basketball side, I don't think. So the teams with a chance in the next 5 years, let's say, with a chance, Michigan, Illinois, that's a reach, man. Vanderbilt, Alabama, Texas Tech, Miami, if I want to stretch it. There's really only 4 teams in there, and there's only 2 that I think have a really good shot. So there's 4 that are realistic, 6 if I want to stretch it, and 2 with a decent shot maybe in the next 5 years to win dual championships. Something to think about. All right, guys, get yourselves in the pool. Get yourself ready. We got basketball tomorrow, wall to wall. By the way, Prairie View A&M is now up 51-44 over Lehigh for all those who bet that game. And if you did bet this game, please get the Gamblers Anonymous as quick as possible. I'm begging you. Indiana, I'll give you that one. It's funny. Again, we said it's interesting that we said Michigan and Alabama are closer in basketball than they are in football, potentially. Indiana, obviously, is much closer in football than they are in basketball. They were a bubble team, one of the last few teams out of this tournament. DeVries, obviously a very good coach who's come from 1 year at West Virginia after really doing well at Evansville. has had a bit of a tough transition to Indiana, but, he's got to get his feet under him. So Indiana's a good one, Brian. I should have gone a little further. I didn't go into the Rands outside of the top 25 as I was looking at potentials. BYU. How about BYU? Had a really good season in basketball, had a really good season in football, has had several good seasons in football recently. UCLA's not close. TCU, no football. Clemson, Ohio State. Ohio State's, I guess you'd have to give. There's always a chance that basketball program can rise back up, but the Big Ten's so tough. Kentucky, no. That's a good one, though, Brian. You got me looking at a couple other teams that I might have forgotten about. I don't think they're close enough in basketball, quite frankly. I mean, they had a great season this year, 25-8. And again, this is just the first. Just the first year under Jay Lucas. Did a great job. He left. You remember he left. He left Duke before the postseason last year. Once he got hired by Miami and got started on a job right away. This is year one, and they were not good last year. They were horrendous. Even the year before, not great. But they're only a few years removed from the Final Four. That's a good one. I mean, they're on my list. I had them as my sixth team, so I did have them on there. The team's less likely. Right, Indiana was a good one. I think BYU's a sleeper in this conversation too. And it's a great point with NIL. Anything is possible. So again, hopefully they'll pull us out of the clips. Best teams, best chances in the next 5 years. I'm going to try to get this clip. Give me this clip. Best chance for dual national championships in the next 10 years, for 5 years. We've now got we got a decent amount of teams. Where's my let me get back to this. Jesus, I lost my all right. Start over. Oh, you're killing me, Holmes. So again, our best shots are Michigan. Michigan and Alabama are best two, in my mind. We've come up with some others, though. We've come up with Illinois. Arkansas, no. Vanderbilt. Texas Tech. Tennessee. Miami. Indiana. BYU. We're up to like 8 teams now. Very tough. It's been done once, guys, in the history of college sports. That was Florida. Again, I want to say 2006. Kudos to them. And anything is possible. To Brian's point, anything's possible. Anything's possible in the NIL transfer portal era. As long as we got this wild, wild west, any of these teams could turn it around in a year. So teams that are strong on the basketball side, who's to say Florida doesn't turn it around under John Summerall? I don't know. Good stuff, though. Stuff to talk about later on. I think I'll get this topic up on Sunday on the Stream of Consciousness as well. Maybe we'll have a little more in-depth conversation about this. Because there could be teams, again, with the correct, Brian's point again, with the correct use of NIL and transfer portal, any of these teams on the basketball side or football side could turn it around. Look what Vanderbilt did in 1 year in football and basketball. They aren't that far away. They didn't quite make the playoff. They're not going to quite win this tournament this year, I don't believe. But who knows? Good stuff. Anyway, good stuff, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you check out everybody on the McGrath Podcast Network. And we thank all our groups, as you see some of our favorites scrolling at the bottom. Hopefully, we'll be able to start sharing to all of you again soon. I'll get this to as many of you as I can. We'll be back next week at 7 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, and we'll be able to wrap up the first 2 rounds of this tournament before the Sweet 16 gets started, and it'll be a lot of fun. And recap where our picks are and where we stand in these pools, and check out all the other news in the world of college sports. And I'll be back on Friday morning with Jack with the Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook right here on all these platforms that you're watching us on now. Most importantly, the McGrath Podcast Network. You guys have a great, great weekend. We'll see you later. A great week. Not the weekend yet. Always a weekend for me. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.